And welcome. We are live. It is the 12th annual year-end group programs call. I'm Jennifer Britton. Some of you know me through my writing. I'm the author of Effective Group Coaching and From One to Many, Best Practices for Team and Group Coaching. It is great to be here. We actually have a number of people live calling in. We've got Song and Soar, welcome to you. We've got Kathy, who is calling in from Africa, and I'm sure we will have more people as we go. A couple of things. We are doing an experiment, which, knock on wood, is working pretty well so far. Historically, I've always done these calls on Bridgeline, and in the last couple of months, I've been experimenting using this platform of Blab. It's a really fun marketing platform in terms of being able to see people. And actually, after today's call, I will have both an audio recording and a video recording. There is no main sort of presentation, but it's a little bit more engaging, I think, than just doing a talking head. So I want to welcome you. This is an annual tradition. As you might have seen, this is my 12th annual year-end group programs call. I started this my first year in business back in 2004, and it's always been an opportunity to take stock of the year that was, to look and pause at where you're at right now in your own work with groups and teams, and to look forward, to actually forecast forward in terms of what might be some of the themes that are emerging in this next year in our work with groups and teams. Now, some of you might be a coach. A number of you are probably trainers, facilitators. For those of you that are live, chances are this may be one of your early blabs or initial blabs. A couple things about the technology. If you look to your bottom right corner, there's a set of hands. It's sort of like, this is how you show love. This is how you get the word out about others. And Blab, like other technologies, is sort of a numbers game. Today, I want to give a short presentation, maybe answer some of your questions. As I mentioned, I've been sort of experimenting with this platform for about 2 months now, and regularly I do something that's evolving to be called the Group Coaching Design Studio. It's a half-hour call. I'm not committing to doing it weekly, but it's more like bi-weekly, and it is an opportunity to bring people together who are interested in group and team issues. Whether you're coaching, training, facilitating, I think we can always get inspired by and really get our creative juices flowing with some new ideas. So for today's call, it's going to be a little different than our normal blabs. Today's call, I have some content that I wanted to share in the spirit of this year-end reflection call on the areas of group and team coaching. I have some content that I want to share. I want to give you an opportunity to reflect on what's important in your world right now, and then we're going to be taking a look at what you want to create in this next year. So 2015, it's been a really interesting year, I think, for most of us. Economically, around the world, politically around the world, so many interesting things are happening. And as someone who's based out of Canada, it's really exciting for me to continue to be able to work with people globally. Even on this call, we have people half a world away, and it's really nice to be able to reach out and connect. I've been working with coaches through the Group Coaching Essentials program for the last 10 years. In fact, in a few weeks, we will be celebrating our 10th anniversary at the Group Coaching Essentials program. So stay tuned for some exciting things. I did also want to make some announcements, which is something I do at the usual blab. Next week, on December the 18th, I'll be hosting a virtual retreat where you can spend the day with me around planning for your business for 2016. It is going to be part of what I call the Inner Biz Leader Virtual Business Planning Retreat. And that program is going to be held December the 17th, that's next Thursday, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you're looking for a day to actually sit back and focus in on your business and where you want to go, it's part group program, part individual reflection, and then I'm available to you throughout the course of the day. So it's a real bonus, $495 US, and I've got a special on that. If anyone is interested, you can reach out to me, and you probably know where I am, but info or Jennifer@potentialsrealized.com. I'll talk a little bit later about upcoming January programs because, again, we'll be celebrating 10 years at the Group Coaching Essentials program. And I think back to, wow, where have we gone in this realm of group coaching in the last 10 years? Pretty amazing to see where 10 years ago, even coaches were saying, what is group coaching? And today we have examples, even on today's call, of people taking this work out into the world in organizations, in communities, in their own world of work, with everything from leaders to parents to families to business owners to people working around work-life issues. So I think some of the trends that I've seen in this last year, if we look back at 2015, some of the really interesting things which are a plus and sometimes something we need to think strategically about. Number one is explosion of technology. We have technologies like Blab, which just surfaced, I think, a little less than 6 months ago. This is a great platform for bringing people together face-to-face. You can do live streaming. It is a very open platform, so if you were thinking of, do I use this for coaching, probably not a good suggestion if it's going to be if the wider world is knowing about this. Again, we can't guarantee confidentiality like we would want in a coaching conversation, but if it is about bringing groups together so that they can see each other and talk with each other, if you have a group of 4 or less, this might be something that you want to include as a non-coaching contact time. There is something to be said about seeing each other eyeball to eyeball. And I always talk about, sort of the eyes open experience that happens when people move from just that virtual phone-based environment into the eyeball to eyeball, whether we're using a Skype or other technologies. So I think one of the trends of this last year, it has been, in fact, the explosion of technology, streaming. From a business perspective, it, I think, brings people closer together. I don't know if people now seeing me, it's off-putting or a good thing, but certainly I feel a lot more closer connected to people than just on the bridge line. So in addition to Blab, you might have heard about Periscope, which is also another sort of streaming service, and everything is living in the clouds now. As coaches, that's a great thing. One thing I always want to remind you about is the importance of course, confidentiality. So we want to make sure from a coaching perspective that confidentiality is maintained, and that may in fact influence the platform decisions that we make. What technology has also brought has been a freedom in our work. I think really it is great that we can circle the globe, bring people together. I've been very lucky in my own business, and it's been very intentional in the last almost 12 years now to continue to do a bulk of my work virtually. It means that I don't have to jump on a plane, I don't have to travel, I'm able to bring people together, and that does provide a huge freedom in our work. We can structure things in ways that work well, and we've got a little bit of feedback now on the phone line, so hopefully it won't stay too long. I want to welcome those of you that are on the phone, because I know there's a few of you, and a few people here streaming on Blab. So beyond the freedom in our work, one of the things that I've been noticing too is just a real appetite on the part of our clients, as well as on the part of coaches who are offering group and team coaching, to provide different options. Many times I still get the question, what is your model? What is your one model for group coaching? And I continue to resist that question, because I think as group and team coaches, we need a variety of tools that we want to draw from. There's not one model that I would say works for group A and B and C. Likewise, there's not one model of team coaching which works for a team in financial services versus healthcare versus education. There are certainly common elements and best practices, and any of you who have read my work or heard me speak before, it's those best practices that we always want to keep in mind and think about from the lens of who our clients are. Even on today's call, whether you're here live or listening, there is a wide variety of clients that we work with. So if you are hoping that there's one model that you can be learning and stepping into, I wish it were that easy. In fact, the exciting part of our work is once we're with more than one person, I think there's an ongoing opportunity for us to continue to learn and develop. So linked to that third area of the current trend of different options, I think a current trend is also around really getting clearer on what my clients want. And 13, 14 years ago, when I stepped into the profession of coaching, many of you know I was still a leader within the United Nations system. I had started hearing about this thing called coaching. My eye had gone bad, which meant that I knew I was coming back to Canada or moving on to somewhere else. And what appealed to me with coaching was that it really was a methodology, I thought, that could help learning stick. And that has been, in fact, something that I've seen time and time again with the groups and team members that I work with. And what is key is we always want to be putting ourselves into the shoes of those clients. A trend this year, I think, that I continue to see is more and more people are starting to access and think about how they can incorporate group coaching, because it is a lower price point. It may involve more people in an organization. And secondly, I think more and more teams are starting to really look and explore at how could our team benefit from a coaching approach. There is a great podcast series that I want to give a little plug for. Dr. Krister Lowe out of New York City has been doing a series of podcasts throughout 2015. It's called the Team Coaching Zone, Team Coaching Zone. And it is a wonderful resource, I think, for anyone, whether you're doing team coaching or just interested in learning more of what is team coaching, how does it differ from team building or team facilitation. Through his work and interviews with, I think he's at about 40, podcast episode 40 for the year, he is bringing to life this evolving field of ours in team coaching. So in fact, that's something I'm going to talk a little bit more on in terms of an emerging theme, but a current trend from this past year has been an expansion in the appetite, whether it's been economic pressure that's been leading people to more of a group and a team coaching approach. I continue to meet younger coaches, people new to the profession who are thinking, I think I'm going to add this early on in my work. And really, we want to keep emphasizing group and team coaching is an extension of the core coaching competencies. Okay, we're not really creating anything new. We're still bringing out our toolbox, but the conversation may look different. One of the other trends is just value in the variety of tools. And certainly I know from working with hundreds of alumni now of the Group Coaching Essentials program, so many of you come with such a great toolbox already. I think we always, myself included, want to continue to invest in our own personal and professional development, whether we go, and one of the things I did this year, I did a couple of MOOCs, one in positive psychology, one in the area of inspirational leadership. It's great to get grounded more in the research of things, what is happening. And it's not always about the techniques. Many of our teams and groups are hungry about the empirical nature of our work. So a current trend, I would say, is certainly value in the variety of tools and continued recognition that different clients engage in different ways. I think that's what I get so excited about in terms of this platform of Blab. Unlike, and I know we've got more than half a dozen people on the bridge line, which is right here in my hand, and we have more than, I think we're up to about 9 people now on the live stream. We can engage people in different ways. Some of you really love the auditory channel. Other people really love to see. And as I've been moving through the Blabs in the last couple of weeks, this is why I put one of my flip charts up in the office, because I've been able to show things like visual cards. Many of you know how excited I get in my work with visual elements, photographs, and this is something that you just can't see through the bridge line. So those are some of the trends. Again, to walk through them: explosion of technology, continued diversity of needs on the part of our client, having a value in a variety of tools, and continued recognition that different clients engage in different ways. A few weeks ago, I launched a new e-manual. It's called 40 Ways to Use Visual Cards, and it's really geared for coaches, trainers, facilitators, people who want instructions, facilitated instructions on how to bring more visuals and visual elements into your work. And it's been really welcomed with wide open arms. It includes 5 worksheets in addition to the 40 visual activities. And it's called the 40 Visual Ways. So you can go to conversationsparker.com to learn more about that, as well as there's a link at Group Coaching Essentials. What I think it illustrates, however, is the fact that, so many of us are realizing that even in coaching, our clients are not just engaging only through the verbal channel. They many times get sparked through the visuals. So if any of you are interested in learning more about visual cards, a Blab that I did here at the Group Coaching Design Studio a few weeks ago is dedicated to using visuals in your work. And you can view that at any time. The Blab is found now at blab.im /Jen Britton. That's JENNBRITTON. As our client needs are changing, so are our coaches' needs. You know, some of you are still preferring to come on the bridge line. Others do have a Twitter account, so you can join us here in Blab. And there's a wide variety of people that I've received emails from that don't have Twitter, so they're watching us on YouTube. So again, we want to be responsive. That leads me to some key needs in our work. I think at the end of the day, especially if we're coaching, we want to continue to be focused in on our core coaching competencies: goals, action, awareness, and the ongoing scope of accountability. And a key issue for all of us, whether we're working with groups or teams, is the issue of trust. I think one of the 2016 Blabs that I'll focus on is about trust. It's not only about building trust and connection, it may be about building trust and connection in a virtual environment. Sometimes we work with teams that have such low levels of trust, the bulk of our work focuses in on helping them become more trusting. And that shift doesn't just happen in one or two conversations. I was sharing with a group a few days ago, there was a team that I worked with a few years ago. It really took 6 months of ongoing conversations, twice a month with that team, for them to really get to the place of being able to put some of their main issues, put the elephants out on the table. So key needs are, we want to make sure that we're grounding our skills in, you know, if it's a coaching process, in goals, action, awareness, accountability, in trust. This work with groups and teams is all about a conversation. So if we have some time this morning or this afternoon or this evening, depending on where you call in from, I want to make sure that we leave some space for some questions. So noting that it's about 20 after the hour, I've got a little bit more content I want to cover, and then I'm hoping we can hear from you. What are you doing, or what are your questions? Again, if you're here on the Blab, I'd like you to just give a little handshake, and you can notice the handshake at the bottom right. Who would say that trust is an issue, maybe one of the top 5 issues in a group or a team that you're working with? Or maybe you think that it could be a group or team issue. Yeah, so we've had a little bit of movement. Trust is really a key issue. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of resources out there. So stay tuned at the Group Coaching Ins and Outs blog. Going hand in hand with the trust is connection. How do we build connection? How do we build community? And likewise, I think a platform like this, like Blab, if we have some courageous people who want to jump into the seat as we had before I started the recording, it's really fun to actually see people engage and interact together. Because at the end of the day, when we work in our realm, whether we're coaching, training, facilitating, it's all about the conversation. And we want to look at what helps conversations flow. So that leads me to 2016. Before we go to 2016, I want to give you just a minute to reflect on this year. And it certainly is that time. It's December 10th. Many of us are winding down the year. I'd like you to reflect for yourself, what have been the top 3 learning moments for you as a professional this year? You don't have to share these with me, but I'd like you to just note it for yourself. What have been the top 3 learning moments for you this year? Maybe it was you got to work with a new client group or industry. Maybe it was something on the personal front. Just before we move into thinking about 2016, note for yourself, what are the top 3 things you have learned or learned from this year? And outside my window, a bell has gone. It's lunchtime for the school down the road. So I think that's sort of a little segue. Again, in a few minutes, we might just identify what those themes are, but I hope that you will find time in the upcoming weeks to do more reflection. Again, in lead up for that, in prep for that, one of the recent Blabs focused on 5 questions for you to reflect on. So you can visit that. And again, where this will go after today, I will be posting links to it at the Group Coaching Ins and Outs blog, groupcoaching.blogspot.com. And I'll be also sort of taking my notes, which I had here on a clipboard that you can't see, taking these notes and actually putting them in a blog post so that you can capture the trends, the needs, and where we're going 2016, I think, again, we are really at a very right place. As I said at the start of the call, Group Coaching Essentials turns 10 in January. I can't believe it. I can't believe the hundreds of coaches that I've had the chance to work with. In fact, recently someone said, how many coaches have you worked with? And I had to sit down and think about it. And looking at our alumni numbers, it's been hundreds of coaches. Looking at the number of presentations I've done, virtual, in person, in the last 10 years especially, it's thousands of coaches. And so this work is really coming to its fore. Four things that I want to just plant the seed around that may be of interest to you, sort of areas that I see the industry continuing to move towards. And number one, continued interest and, in some respects, a requirement that we continue to ground this work in empirical nature. We want to get better wherever we can around measurement. Now, coaching as a profession is grounded in goals. The challenge here in coaching is how do we work around confidentiality so we're able to share measurement and we're able to share success. What certainly has been key this past year has been the ongoing emphasis on neuroscience. And as someone who did their undergrad at McGill, I did a Bachelor of Science at McGill in the late 1980s, early 1990s. We were, at that time, McGill was one of the forefront research institutes. And so it's really exciting to see how much of the neuroscience is now becoming mainstream. If you have not sort of accustomed yourself to learning what some of that is and how the brain works, I'd encourage you. I think as coaches, we do want to ground our work with other disciplines to make sure that we know, the science behind things. So a trend I think that will continue is around neuroscience. And we also want to make sure that we continue to increase our understanding. So I see with neuroscience, someone gave a hands up. Great. We have had more people join us, so welcome. I'm Jennifer Britton. I see there's a little note here. It is someone's first day on Blab. Welcome to you. I think it's Gregory. Welcome to you, Gregory. Hope that you'll enjoy your time at Blab. Certainly this is an annual call that has migrated from the phone, still ongoing and now into the Blab realm. Second 2016 trend that I want to just point us to is actually a continued increase in the understanding of what team coaching is. A few minutes ago, I talked about the work that Dr. Krister Lowe is doing with his team coaching podcast. What I love about his work is that, we've now moved beyond our books. Authors like myself, Peter Hawkins, David Clutterbuck, we are now getting verbal stories out into the world around what team coaching looks like. And it's exciting. Again, if you haven't had a chance to check out those Team Coaching Zone podcasts, do check them out. They're on Apple's. You can stream them. You can just Google it for Team Coaching Podcasts. If you have a story to share, he emailed me the other day and said, do you know coaches who want to share their stories? It might be worthwhile, if you've been doing something exciting with your clients, to contact him and see if you might be a guest on the podcast. Now, in that increase of understanding and, knowledge of what team coaching is and is not, it also brings with it a responsibility of how do we get clear on what team coaching really is. And we're still in its infancy. It's very difficult, even for those of us that write research in this area, to really continue to look at the nuances. And I think that is going to be a trend area. Stay tuned. There's definitely more coming out globally from our profession in that area. And I think continued trends will be for more one-on-one as well as group and team coaching support from clients. Depending on where you are economically in the world, there are different pressures. Certainly what we're seeing in Canada is a real uptake of group coaching, bringing group coaching not only through the leadership lens, but down into the ranks within organizations. And that certainly was, for me, a drawing force or a driving force to get involved in the coaching profession. As I said at the start of my call, or start of the call today, as I started out, I was a leader with a team. And I really wanted to know, how could I be bringing these tools to my team to help them do more effective work? So stay tuned. I think stay open for more requests for coaching support. And also in 2016, the fourth trend I want to look at is just stay open for the continued expansion of different ways to connect and build community. So I think we are walking proof of it. Some of you may be dropping off. We just had a participant come in and come out. That's a great thing with Blab. You can sort of drop in, drop out. I'm curious, we've always had a little component of the call open for when people wanted to ask questions. So if you have a question, I'm going to invite you. If you don't want to be live streaming and you're on Blab, you can send a message on the right-hand side bottom. You can send a message, just type in there. If you would like to jump in with me and you're on Blab, if you'd like to be videoed, okay, so this is being recorded, just to note that. Make sure that you just open your seat. You can actually raise your hand and say that I want to jump in, and I will open the seat for your question. If you're here on the bridge line, we've got some people on the bridge line, and you have a question or something you'd like to share, I think I'll first go to the bridge line and just see any questions that people have about group coaching. We've got a few minutes before we wrap up our call. Any questions or comments about what we've touched on today? And there's that 5 seconds of silence. So one of the things that I hope today's Blab and today's 12th annual year-end group and team programs call has awakened in all of you is, one, a recognition for what you're doing well already, and two, an opening of what might be possible for you and your clients in the new year. Little bit on the front of where to next. This is going to be the last formal Blab of the year. I'm back after holidays at the beginning of January. If you've enjoyed this technology, stay tuned. I usually do the group coaching design studio Blab. That's what this is called, on Thursday mornings. So I may jump onto one spontaneously next week to do something around vision, but more likely than not, you'll see me back the first week of January. If you have some theme areas that you'd like me to be covering in these, are half-hour calls, let me know. You can do that individually. Just email me direct, info@potentialsrealized.com, or you can just send me a message here on Blab as well. Time is a precious commodity, and I want to thank all of you for being here today, whether you've been live, streaming, on the phone, as well as listening in. One thing I do love about the Blab technology is it goes viral. One of the first Blabs I've had close to 700 people watch, and that's much greater than I could ever do with just the phone alone. So thank you for joining me. If people are interested in January programs, a couple of exciting announcements. I'm finally launching in January a 6 and 12-month group. Many of you have gone through shorter programs with me. I'm going to be doing a 6 and a 12-month group. It's called the Learning Lab and Design Studio. So it's going to be part coaching for you and your business and world of work, and it's also going to be facilitation practice. A lot of you want more practice. So you can learn more about that at bit.ly.com/LLDS 2016. Again, that's bit.ly.com/LLDS 2016. And that stands for Learning Lab and Design Studio. I am migrating a lot of my courses from Udemy over to the Learning Lab and Design Studio, so I'd love for you to, if you want more of an on-demand format, to certainly check out what's available at Udemy. But the new site that we have total control over is the Learning Lab and Design Studio. I've just launched that in the last few weeks, and that's where this membership will be held. So it's going to consist of 3 group calls a month, 3 one-hour group calls a month with me, a one-on-one a month, and then there is more than 20 hours right now of audios, videos, resources for you to tap into, as well as templates, things like proposals, things like attendance lists, checklists. So it really is going to be a one-stop portal for coaches, particularly who want more ongoing support and building of community. I will be continuing with the Group Coaching Essentials program, now approved for 8.75 CCEs with the ICF. That comes back in January, Thursdays, starting January 7th. The Advanced Group Coaching Practicum will also start back. That's a 10 CCE program starting on Fridays at 10:15, January 8th, running to February 12th. And if you are a coach needing mentor coach support, I also offer the mentor coaching groups. And that's also a Friday program running from 9 to 10 a.m. on Fridays from January 8th till April 8th. So lots going on. Thank you. I want to wish all of you a wonderful holiday. It's been such a pleasure to be able to be in dialogue with so many of you this year, live, through email, and more importantly, in the different live classes. I want to wish you and yours a great holiday season, whatever you celebrate. And again, want to see you, hopefully see you back here at the Design Studio in the new year. It's likely to be the first Thursday. You can always stay tuned at blab.im/Jen Britton, or of course at groupcoachingessentials.com. Before we wrap up, if you've enjoyed the call, please give a show of hands. And otherwise, thank you. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
To stop conference recording, 1. Your conference recording has stopped.
Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays.